The next concept is work energy theorem. As we know that work and energy are correlated physical quantities, now we are relating these two in a form of equation. So what is the way to prove it? If you see the equation part, then we can say the statement also. Let us take a body of mass m. When a force is applied, it is already with initial velocity u. When a force is applied, its velocity changed to v and it has traveled to a distance called s. So from the center of the body to the center of the final position, it is say s is the distance. Initial velocity is u, force is applied, changed the velocity to v, traveled a distance s and the acceleration of a. So which kinematic equation is suits for this situation? The kinematic equation of motion is v square minus u square is equal to 2as. Here the u is not equal to 0, therefore s is equal to v square minus u square by 2a. What is the work done in moving the body? W is equal to Fs, where F is equal to ma, where S is equal to v square minus u square by 2a. A and a get cancelled. This will be half mv square minus half mu square, where v is the final velocity, where u is the initial velocity. If a kinetic energy which is related with final velocity is called final kinetic energy, the kinetic energy which is related to the initial velocity is called initial kinetic energy. Therefore, it can be written as W is equal to Kf minus Ki. So what is the statement for this equation? The work done or the amount of work done in moving a body or work done by a body or object is equal to the change in its kinetic energy. This is the statement for work energy theorem. So the work done by a body is equal to change in its kinetic energy. This is the relationship between work and energy. So therefore W is equal to Kf minus Ke. The next concept is work energy theorem for a variable force. Means the force what is applied on the body is continuously changing. Maybe the magnitude is changing, or direction of the force applied is changing. As usually, the magnitude of work will change because work is directly proportional to the applied force according to the definition. So let us suppose this is the body, a force is variable and it is moving through a distance. This is initial position, let us say xi, and it has moved to some other distance, let us say xf. The gap between this xf and xi is nothing but the displacement or distance traveled by the body. So as we know that kinetic energy is equal to half mv square k dot E. What is the work energy theorem? The work done by a body is equal to rate of change in its kinetic energy, or otherwise change in kinetic energy. So therefore d by dt of Ke is equal to d by dt of half mv square. So we can write this one as dk by dt is equal to half into m into 2v dv by dt. So this 2 get cancelled and it will be dk is equal to mv dv, or dk by dt is equal to mv into dv by dt. So m into dv by dt into v is equal to dk by dt. So we know that m dv by dt is acceleration into v is equal to dk by dt. So therefore dk by dt is equal to fv, where v is equal to rate of change in distance or displacement. Therefore it will be written as f into dx by dt is equal to dk by dt. So here force is variable according to the distance traveled by the body with respect to the time. So on integrating on both sides, while we are integrating, this k will become ki to kf, the limits, where dx will become the xi to xf limits. So integral dk by dt, or we can write dt get cancelled because they both are similar on the both sides. So dk is equal to integral f dx. Here it is xi to xf, here it is ki to kf. So this will be k from the limits ki to kf. This will be f into x from the limit xi to xf. So if this is the case, this will be given as kf minus ki is equal to f into xf minus xi. Or we can write like this. This is the continuous part. kf minus ki is equal to f dx, or f into xf minus xi is equal to kf minus ki. So this is the work energy theorem for a variable force. Here the change in kinetic energy final minus kinetic energy initial is equal to f into final position minus initial position. Like this, we can understand the work energy theorem for a variable force. Now we will see a problem which is based on the concept of work done by a variable force. So the concept of the problem is a block of mass 1 kg moving on a horizontal surface with the speed of 2 meters per second vi, nothing but the initial velocity, enters a rough patch ranging from x is equal to 0.10 meters to x is equal to 2.01 meters. The retarding force on the block is Fr is equal to minus k by x for 0.1 less than x less than 2.01 meters, for x is equal to 0 and x is lies between 0.1 meters and x and 2.01 meters, where k is equal to 0.5 joules. What is the kf and vf of the block as it crosses the patch? Kf means final kinetic energy, vf means initial final velocity. So mass m is equal to 1 kg, initial velocity is equal to 2 meters per second. The values are x is equal to 0.1 to 2.01 meters. The retarding force on the block Fr is equal to minus k by x. Now we should find out the kf and vf. This is the concept of the problem. So what we can write? We know that kf minus ki is equal to f dx, or What is f? Minus k by x dx integral. So the limits are 0.1 to 2.01. Therefore, kf, what is ki? We should find out. From there we can find out the remaining values, where k is equal to 0.5. So therefore, kf minus ki is equal to minus k, where dx by x is equal to log x, between the limits 0.1 to 2.01, where k is nothing but the half mv square minus log x from the limits 0.1 to 2.01. So if this is the case, so what we can understand is kf minus ki is equal to half, m is 1, v is 2 square minus log 0.1 to 2.01. So we can write kf minus ki is equal to 2 minus, this will be log 2.01 by 0.1. So this will be 2 minus, this will be log 20.1. So this is k log because it is k into dx by dx. So what we can write 2 minus k log 20.1, therefore 2 minus 0.5 into log 20.1 is 3, therefore it is k log k. Now we have missed the term in the beginning, so that's why it is better to put now. So therefore kf minus ki is equal to 2 minus 1.5, 0.5 joules. Where kf is equal to 0.5 plus 0.5, 1 joule. Because ki is also 0.5 joules. Therefore, we should find out Vf. We know that half m Vf square is equal to kf. Therefore, Vf square is equal to 2 kf by m. Therefore, Vf is equal to square root of 2 kf by m. Therefore, Vf is equal to square root of 2 into where kf is 0.5, where mass is 1 kg. Therefore, it is 1 meter per second. Where the kf minus ki is equal to 1. Here we are just substituting a kf. Therefore, it is 1 meter per second. This is the final velocity of the body as it crosses the patch of length 2.01 to 0.1 meters. The next concept is relationship between energy and momentum. So as we know that kinetic energy formula is half mv square and momentum is p is equal to mv. Now I am squaring the equation on both sides. Therefore, it will be p square is equal to m square v square. Now, I am dividing the same equation on both sides with 2m. with 2m on both sides. Therefore, what we will get from this situation is where p square by 2m is equal to m square v square by 2m. This m and m square get cancelled, so you will get half mv square is equal to p square by 2m. So half mv square is kinetic energy. In such a moment, this kinetic energy will become the total energy of the body. So therefore, we can write Ke is equal to p square by 2m, or E is equal to p square by 2m. From this expression we can write energy is inversely proportional to mass and momentum is equal to square root of 2me or 2mke. So energy is inversely proportional to mass. Where momentum is constant, the lighter mass object has high energy. If P is constant, lighter mass has high energy. But here P is directly proportional to the square root of mass as well as energy. If mass is constant, P is directly proportional to energy. If energy is constant, P is directly proportional to mass. Like this, we can relate these two physical quantities in the form of equations. Here is the one problem which is based on the concept of kinetic energy and relation of the momentum. So the problem is the momentum of the body is doubled. By what percentage does its kinetic energy increases? There are no values were given in the problem. Still we can get the values in the form of integers. So what is the way to solve this problem? As we know that Ke is equal to p square by 2m. So from this we can write Ke1 is equal to p1 square by 2m as well as Ke2 is equal to p2 square by 2m. So Ke1 by Ke2 is equal to p1 square by 2m by p2 square by 2m. So this p2 square by 2m will go up, so it will cancel with 2m. So we will get Ke1 by Ke2 is equal to p1 square by p2 square. But the momentum of the body is doubled. Therefore, let us say the original momentum p1 is equal to p. P1 is equal to P initially. P2 is equal to doubled means 2P. So therefore, Ke1 by Ke2 is equal to P1 square means P square by P2 square means 4P square. So therefore, it is P square get cancelled. Therefore, Ke1 is equal to 4 into Ke2. Therefore, the definition or difference in Ke is equal to 4 Ke2 minus Ke2 is equal to 3 Ke2. Percentage change is 3 Ke2 by Ke1 into 100. Percentage of increase in Ke is equal to Ke2 minus Ke1 by Ke1 into 100. Therefore, Ke2 minus Ke1. So what we can write, it is 3 Ke1 by Ke1 into 100. So it will be 300 percentage. So if momentum is doubled, the kinetic energy increases by 300%. The next concept is conservative force and non-conservative forces. To do some work, the applied force is minimum. So, force is the minimum quantity or minimum physical quantity or main essential quantity to be applied on the body to do some work. These forces are divided into two types. One is conservative, another one is non-conservative. So, what is the conservative force? Suppose if work done by a force is independent of the path and the total work done in the closed path is 0, that force is called conservative force. Let us suppose this is the point and a force is applied on this body where placed is that point. Then the work done in moving the body in this path, and again the body has reached to its original state. Here the path is not in the definite shape, it is the indefinite shape of the path. Still, work done by this body along this path and along this closed loop is independent of the path. Independent of the path means independent on the shape of the path. But the total work done in the complete path is 0. So, if the work done by the force in a closed loop is 0 and independent of the path, then the force is conservative. Non-conservative means exactly opposite to the conservative force nature. What are the examples of the conservative force? If the body freely falling or thrown upward under the gravity or away from the gravity, it has work done in the path as prescribed, but in each case work done is plus mgh and minus mgh. Where minus mgh is the body when it is moving away from the earth, plus mgh when the body is doing work in case of freely falling body. So, it is independent of the path. Still, anyway, the total work done for the complete projectile up and complete downfall is 0. Total work done is equal to mgh minus mgh. It is 0. So, anyway we are getting the total result as 0, but it is independent of the path, but this work was done by the conservative force. Next we will see the examples of non-conservative force. The non-conservative force means it is dependent on path. Means work done by a force, whether it is variable or constant, it is dependent on the path. At the same time, total work done is not equal to 0. The work done by a force is not equal to 0 and dependent on path, then the force is non-conservative. So what is the meaning of dependent on path and not total work is not equal to 0? Let us suppose take a frictional force. Frictional force is always opposite to the direction of the applied force. Always. That means the net force acting on the body is the resultant of applied force minus frictional force. So what we can understand is, if applied force and frictional force are same in magnitude, then the body will be in rest. If applied force is greater than the frictional force, the body may overcome the frictional force and it can travel along the path or along the smooth plane or rough plane. So in this case, we can say that this force, the net force is not equal to 0. If the net force is not equal to 0, then the work done is also not equal to 0, because W is equal to F into S. So like this, we can understand the concept of non-conservative forces. So we can write this one is F minus small f is not equal to 0. Consequently, work is not equal to 0. And it is dependent on the path, whether it is from right to left or left to right. Like this, we can understand this concept. Next, we will see the different units of energy or different measurements of energy. First one is kilowatt hour. The symbol is kWh. It is one of the unit, or not one of the, it is the standard unit to measure the amount of power that we consumed. So amount of energy that we have consumed. So what is this kilowatt hour? This kilowatt hour is said to be 1 unit of power or commercial unit of energy. So as we know that it is kilowatt hours. So 1 kilowatt is equal to 1000 watts. 1 hour is equal to 3600 seconds. So it will be 3.6 into 10 to the power of 6 joules. That means if we are running the electrical appliances in domestics or in any areas, if those electrical appliances consumes this much of energy, nothing but 3.6 megajoules, that should be treated as 1 commercial unit of energy consumed. So like this one, the electricity boy will come to the house and he will see the readings difference, the previous reading to the present reading, and he will say that some 80 to 100 units are consumed, or some 200 units are consumed in this month or in this period from one particular date to the another particular date. That means, what is the meaning of this consumption of energy? 1 unit means these many joules. This 1 unit is, in terms of the commercial unit, it will set as 1 kilowatt hour. This is one of the form of energy. Second one is electron volt. Symbol is EV. 1 electron volt is the amount of energy required or amount of work required to move a single charge through a potential difference. The amount of energy required to move a unit charge through a unit potential difference. Unit charge means 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 coulombs. Through the potential difference means 1 volt. It will be 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 joules. This 1.6 and 10 to the power of minus 19 joules is equal to 1 electron volt. So what we can understand from this concept, this electron volt is the SI unit of energy between the energy levels. Suppose if an electron should jump from one energy level to the another energy level, the gap between those energy levels should be measured in electron volts. 1 electron volts is equal to this much joules. That means the electron should overcome this much of energy, or should be supplied with this much of energy, or this much of work to jump or to de-excite from one state to another state. Next one is various forms of energy. Energy has many forms in the world. We are using many energies for our comfort. So what are the main variation forms of the energy? First one is heat energy. This heat energy we are consuming to boil the water, and we are receiving the much heat energy from the sun. So heat energy is one of the different forms of the energy. Like the other energies, the SI unit of heat energy is also joule. So mostly this heat energy is measured in joules. The amount of the heat energy that is passing through a body should be measured in kelvins or degrees Celsius. Nothing but the amount of heat or the degree of hotness or coolness. Second one, nuclear energy. So what is this nuclear energy? Nuclear energy means the energy which is produced by the nuclear reactions. The different types of nuclear reactions are nuclear fission and nuclear fusion. Fusion means two small nuclei combined together to form a big nucleus, like this. Fission means the big nuclei splits into two small nuclei. A big nucleus splits into two small nuclei, like this. So whatever may be the process, in this case some energy will be liberated. But the energy which is released from this case is dependent on Einstein's energy mass equivalence, or the Einstein's relation which connects the mass and energy. So like this. That means this is also one of the variable form of energy, Einstein's mass energy equivalence. What is the statement given for this concept by Einstein is, let us take a body of mass some 1 kg or 1 gram, very least. This 1 gram of body may not be possible to produce enormous energy, because if you want to produce energy from this 1 gram of the substance, first of all it should be heated or it should be preserved in some different conditions. Maybe that body's strength is not sufficient to hold that much energy. But generally or naturally it is not possible, but in some special cases this body of 1 gram mass can produce enormous energy. What is that relation? Suppose is this 1 gram of the mass of the body, when it is moving with the velocity of square of the velocity of light, that means c square of the speed of light. So in this case, c is equal to 3 into 10 to the power of 8 meters per second, comma c square is equal to 3 into 10 to the power of 8 whole square. Therefore, it is 9 into 10 to the power of 6 meters per second. If there is a mass of 1 gram of, when it is moved with the velocity or speed of square of the speed of light, where 3 into 10 to the power of 8 whole square, it is nothing but 9 into 10 to the power of 16 meters per second, then it is possible to produce enormous amount of energy. That means energy is equal to mc square. This is the relationship between energy and mass proposed by Einstein. Suppose if this is the case, where mass is 1 gram means 10 power minus 3 kg, c square is 9 into 10 to the power of 16 meters per second. The energy produced in this case is 9 into 10 to the power of 13 joules, which is enormous. According to the scientists and historians, this formula was used to manufacture and throw the atom bomb and hydrogen bombs at various places at the time of Second World War. The next form of energy is chemical energy. And there are many chemicals like acids, bases, water. These are all chemicals in a form of liquid. These chemicals, when they are involved in any reaction, they will produce energy, exothermic energy and endothermic energy, or exothermic reactions or endothermic reactions. So, chemical energy is a form of energy will be released when two chemicals are involved in a reaction. Or two or more. Minimum is 2. We can write like 2 or more chemicals. We can see the chemical energy results in DC batteries. Like electrolyte cell or dry cells, there we can see the chemical effects of the energy. Next one is electrical energy. The energy which is released by the propagation of electrons or by the colliding of electrons with any other charged particles is called electrical energy. The best example of the electrical energy is the electric current that we are consuming every day. So, this electrical energy is a result of collision of charged particles. So, up to here we have discussed some major different forms of energy, whether it is heat energy, chemical energy, electrical energy, nuclear energy, mass energy equivalents. What is the relationship between these all different forms of energy? That we will discuss in law of conservation of energy. The next concept is law of conservation of energy. So, what is the concept behind this? There are many ways to explain this concept. We will see two of the best. Let us take a body. Initially, it is at rest. If a body which is placed in rest position, it has potential energy. We know that. But a force is applied on the body. As the body moving according to the applied force magnitude, it attains the Ke, because it is under the motion with some velocity. Whenever the body is traveling from rest position to motion, it is losing some part of its PE, and this PE is converted to Ke. That means it is PE initially is equal to minus Ke. Or we can write Ke is equal to loss of potential energy. So automatically we can say Ke plus PE is equal to 0. total energy in this process is constant. Such like that, let us take another body which is already in motion. A force is applied in the opposite direction to stop the body, then the body is coming to rest, and at one point it comes to rest. When it is coming to rest, it is initially having the Ke and it is attaining the Pe. So when the force applied in any form, loss of Ke happened, and that should be equal to the gain in Pe. So therefore it is minus Ke is equal to Pe. Automatically Pe plus Ke is equal to 0. So in both the cases, whether the body is traveling from rest to motion or the body is traveling from motion to rest, the total energy in each case is constant or 0 or unity. So how to understand this concept? Here the energy is not destroying. Energy is neither created or not be destroyed, but it is changing one form to the another form within a quick time of interval. So there will be energy neither created nor be destroyed, but the variation of the energy is possible. Energy neither created nor be destroyed, but it can change the form. Means it is changing from one form of energy to another form of energy. Previously we have discussed the variation of different energies: chemical energy, heat energy, electrical energy, nuclear energy. These are all the energies which are related to one form to the another form. How these energies will convert? Best example, windmill. These windmills are converting the wind energy to electrical energy. The domestic appliance, different domestic appliances, domestic electrical appliances what we are using in our daily life. Maybe it is a light or fan. If you take light, that light is converting the electrical energy into light energy. The next one is if you take electrical fan. This fan is converting to electrical energy to mechanical energy. Next, if you take solar cooker, this is converting solar energy to heat energy. A DC battery, whether it is a mobile battery or an electrolyte cell battery, whatever may be the shape or whatever may be the different shade, so that chemical energy is converting to electrical energy in those batteries. Whether it is a battery. Chemical energy to electrical energy. So what we can understand from these examples is, in the given path, total energy is constant, means energy neither created nor be destroyed, and in the another way, the energy is converting one form to the another form without any loss or without any change. This is the definition of law of conservation of energy. Now we will see the law of conservation of energy is valid or not in a case of freely falling body. So next, law of conservation of energy in freely falling body. In case of freely falling body. Let us take a body of a mass m. Initially it is at a position A. This position A is at a height h from the earth. So the initial height from the earth is h. But this body is a freely falling body, means it is coming towards the earth. So it has traveled some distance towards the earth and it has reached a point B. The distance from here to here means the position A to position B is x. So automatically the body will automatically reach the earth, but from earth the height or the distance of the position B is h minus x. These are the different physical quantities that are involved to explain this concept. So what is our duty is we should prove that the total energy of this body at any position, whether it is position A at the top, position B at the middle, position C exactly on the ground, wherever it is, the total energy of this body should be same. If that is possible, we can prove the law of conservation of energy in this case. So we will see the one by one. First one is position A, at position A. At position A, what is the potential energy of the body? PE is equal to, see the body is at a height h and the force or the gravitational force acting on the body is mg. Therefore, PE is equal to mgh. But it is a freely falling body, its velocity is 0 at position A. So, for freely falling body, V is equal to 0. As usual, kinetic energy Ke is equal to half m into 0 square. This is 0. So at position A, the potential energy of the body is mgh, kinetic energy of the body is 0. Therefore, total energy at A is equal to PE plus Ke. Therefore, it is mgh. This is equation 1. The total mechanical energy of the freely falling body at the top or at the position A is equal to mgh. The second one is at position B. The potential energy of this body at position B is equal to mg into what is the height or at which place it is placed from the earth at a height of h minus x. So it will be mg into h minus x. The body is freely falling from A to B. At A it has some initial velocity, but at B it has some final velocity and it has travelled a distance x. Therefore, by applying kinematic equations of motion, v square minus u square is equal to 2as. Therefore, v square minus, where u is equal to 0 is equal to 2 into acceleration is plus g, where the distance s is equal to x. Therefore, it will be V square is equal to 2gx. PE we got mg into h minus x, V square is equal to 2gx, therefore KE is equal to half mv square, that is equal to half into m into V square is equal to 2egx. 2 to get cancelled, it will be mgx. So the total mechanical energy at B is equal to Ke plus Pe. Ke mgx, Pe mg into h minus x. So therefore it is mgx minus mgx will get cancelled, we will get mgh. So the total mechanical energy at B is equal to mgh. The third case is at position C. So what we can understand, position C is exactly on the ground. So from the ground, the height of the body is 0. Therefore, PE is equal to mgh, that is equal to mg into 0, that is 0. So potential energy of the body will be completely vanished on the ground. But according to kinematic equations of motion, V square minus U square is equal to 2as, V square minus 0 is equal to 2g into S is nothing but the distance travelled by the body from A to C, the distance is h. Therefore, Ke is equal to half mv square, half into m into V square is 2gh. 2 to get cancelled, therefore Ke is equal to mgh. So therefore total mechanical energy at C is equal to Pe plus Ke, where Pe is 0, Ke is mgh, therefore it is mgh. Total mechanical energy at C. This is equation 3. So from equation 1, total mechanical energy is equal to, at A is equal to mgh. From equation 2, total mechanical energy at position B is equal to mgh. From equation 3, total mechanical energy at position C is equal to mgh. Therefore, equation 1 is equal to equation 2 is equal to equation 3. So Te at A is equal to Te at B is equal to Te at C. So irrespective of the path followed by the body, the total mechanical energy at any position in case of freely falling is constant. So like this we can prove the law of conservation of energy in case of freely falling body. This is the problem which relates the various forms of energy. The concept is express the energy required to break one bond in DNA in electron volts. The Ke of an air molecule 10 to the power of minus 21 joules in electron volts. The daily intake of a human adult in kilocalories. So, if you see the first bit, the minimum energy required to break one bond in DNA in electron volts we should find out. So, it is 10 to the power of minus 20 joules by 10 to the power of minus 19 joules. Or this is called 1 electron volt, and this minus 19 will go up, it will be 10 to the power of minus 1 by 1.6. So 1 by 1.6 into 1 by 10. So we will get some 0.06 electron volts. Second bit, we should find out the Ke of an air molecule 10 to the power of minus 21 joules in electron volts. We know that 1 electron volt is equal to 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 joules. Therefore, Ke of air molecule in electron volts is equal to 10 to the power of minus 21 by 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19. This minus 19 goes up, it is 10 to the power of minus 2 by 1.6. Approximately, we will get some 0.0062 electron volts. So we can write this one as 6.2 milli electron volts also. The third one, we should find out the daily intake of a human adult in kilocalories. It is 10 to the power of 7 joules by 4.2 into 10 to the power of 3 joules. This 3 goes up, 10 to the power of 4 by 4.2. Mostly the answer is 2400 kilocalories. So like this we can convert the values into any system of unit to the another system of unit. The next concept in this chapter is collisions. This collisions involves conservation of energy, conservation of momentum, and the applications of Newton's first law. What is the Newton's first law? Newton's first law states that if a body is in rest, if an external force applied on it, it will be in motion. If a body is already in motion, if an external force is applied on it, it will be stopped completely. That means to stop a body completely or to move a body further, a force is needed. Collisions are such type of interactions. What is the meaning of colliding? Colliding means a complete interaction of two bodies. If the body in rest, when a fast moving body just touches it, the body in rest converts to the motion. Best example, caroms. The carom coins will be in rest, but if a striker touches it obliquely or head on, the coils will be in motion next. Cricket ball. If a fielder throwing the ball or if a batsman hitting the ball is changing the direction and as well as changing the energy and momentum. These are all the natural examples of the collisions. The collision means colliding. Colliding means the complete interaction of two bodies. Based on the direction of motion, these collisions are divided into two types. The direction of motion it was divided into two types. First type is head-on collision. Or one-dimensional collision. Second one is oblique collision. These two are different categories of the collisions with respect to the direction of motion before collision and after collision. So in head-on collision, so what we can understand in this head-on collision, it is a completely one-dimensional collision. This is the plane surface, two objects or two bodies, they are completely approaching with respect to each other with some velocities. So they are moving on the same plane. After collision, they will separate. After the separation also, they will move to the destinations in the same plane or on the same plane in opposite directions. So what we can understand in head-on collision, the motion of the bodies before collision and after collision is along the same path or in the same straight line. That collision is said to be head-on collision. So the motion of the body or of the bodies is along the same path before and after collisions. Is called head-on collision. Then what about the next collision? It is oblique collision. Oblique symbol is like this. That means it is not straight. So there is a collision between the two objects with an angle of impose. After the collision, they will be separated into different directions with different angles. That means here is one body. One body is slightly having some angle and it is trying to collide. It is not the head-on collision. It is just surface to surface. Maybe the body's this surface may be in contact with this surface. According to that, after the collision, this body may be in rest and this body will move like this. Initially, it is from one plane. After the collision, it is on the another plane. So the motion of body is not in the same path of before and after the collision is called oblique collision. Before and after collision is called oblique collision. This classification is done on the basis of direction of motion before and after the collisions. But according to the physical quantities involved in the collision, these collisions are again classified into three types: elastic, inelastic. So on the basis of physical quantities describing the collisions, these collisions are classified into three types. First one is elastic collision. Third one is inelastic collision. Third one is perfectly inelastic collision. This is on the basis of conservation. If you see the first one, nothing but the elastic collision, you can write in the short form of EC. In elastic collision, the kinetic energy of the bodies and momentum of the bodies both will be conserved. The Ke and momentum both will conserve. Such type of collisions are called elastic collisions. The another way to understand this concept is where the Newton laws are valid in this collision. If energy is conserved means there will be no loss or no gain or no storage of energy. In this type of collisions, the objects which are involved in this collision may regain their original states. So, original shapes. After collision. Because it is an elastic collision, means the collision which has the elastic in nature. What are the examples for this type of collision? Collision between fundamental particles, second one, collision between the nucleons. This is called elastic collision. This elastic collision is in perfectly one-dimensional, two-dimensional, we will see the different cases. The next one is inelastic collision. In short form, we can write IEC. In inelastic collision, the kinetic energy not conserved, but the law of conservation of momentum holds good. Of momentum holds good. Means we can expect this law of conservation of momentum is valid in this type of collisions. If you see the first statement, energy is not conserved, means there may be a chance for the loss of energy, or there may be a chance for the storage of energy in the bodies where the participation of collisions. That means energy is stored in form of PE. It is inelastic. So what is the meaning of that? After the collision, the objects which involved in the collision may not get the original state. The bodies will deform after the collision. So what are the examples? Collision between the cricket ball and bat. Means the deformation not place at the right moment. It may take for some time also. The second example, the elastic collision, the collision between the automobile tires to the road. So this type of examples we can state for the inelastic collision, and this is the nature. The third example is perfectly inelastic collision. In short form we can write PIEC. What is the meaning of this perfectly inelastic collisions? There are two objects. Once they collide with each other, after collision took place, these bodies both will stick together and move with common velocity. There is no possibility to separate these bodies after the collision. Maybe in the first case and second case, or first type and second type, you can expect the separation after collision, but in third one, not possible. So, the colliding bodies will move with common velocity after the collision in a form of sticking. So the common velocity we can say as v. In this type of collision, law of conservation of momentum is conserved, but kinetic energy not conserved. Momentum conserved, but Ke not conserved. What type of examples we can observe for this collision? Suppose if a bullet hits the target, bullet will keep in the rest position inside the target. So the target and bullet will be in the stable equilibrium up to some interval of time. So that is the one of the example for this perfectly inelastic collision, bullet and target. Two oppositely charged particles like positive and negative, proton and electron, they will stick together and move with a common velocity in such cases of electricity. That is also one of the examples of perfectly inelastic collision. Proton and electron combine. Such like this, we can separate or we can divide or classify the collisions on the basis of conservation of the energy and momentum. Next, we will see the elastic collision in one dimension. This collision is also called as perfectly elastic collision. So in this collision, we will find out the velocities of the bodies before the collision and after the collision and the ratios of their restitutions. So let us take two bodies. This body has mass m1, initially moving with a velocity u1. In the opposite direction, take another body of mass m2, initially moving with velocity u2. They both are traveling relative to each other. At any one point of the time, they both will collide with each other. So collision takes place like this. After the collision took place, they both will separate because it is an elastic collision. They will regain the state and they will move with the different velocities in the same path in the opposite direction. So after that, this m1 will move with velocity v1 as well as m2 will move with velocity v2. So what we can understand from this? In elastic collisions, kinetic energy will be conserved as well as momentum will be conserved. So according to the law of conservation of momentum, net momentum before collision is equal to net momentum after collision. So net momentum after collision. So the momentum, net momentum before collision is equal to m1 u1 plus m2 u2 is equal to, this one is m1 v1 plus m2 v2. So I am bringing the all m1s to one side and all m2s to another side. So therefore it is m1 into u1 minus v1 is equal to m2 into v2 minus u2. Let us say this is equation 1. So the another physical quantity that is conserved in this collision is kinetic energy. So according to law of conservation of kinetic energy or energy, half m1 u1 square plus half m2 u2 square is equal to half m1 v1 square plus half m2 v2 square. So all sides half is common, so the equation will change. m1 u1 square is plus m2 u2 square is equal to m1 v1 square plus m2 v2 square. So I am bringing all m1s to one side and all m2s to other side. So this will be m1 into u1 square minus v1 square is equal to m2 into v2 square minus u2 square. Let us say this is equation 2. We have the equation 1, m1 into u1 minus v1 is equal to m2 into v2 minus u2. This is equation 2. So we are dividing the equation 2 by equation 1. Dividing the equation 2 with equation 1. So therefore m1 into u1 square minus v1 square is equal to m2 into v2 square minus u2 square whole divided by m1 into u1 minus v1 is equal to m2 into v2 minus u2. So m1 get cancelled, m2 get cancelled. So we can write that is equal to, therefore it will be u1 plus v1 is equal to v2 plus u2. This is equation 3. Now we can change these equations to v1 and v2, and we should substitute these v1 and v2 in any one of the equation, whether it is equation 1 or equation 2 or equation 3, we will get the different answers. So it is u1 plus v1 is equal to v2 plus u2. So from this we can write v1 is equal to v2 plus u2 minus u1. This is one equation. Let us say this is equation 4. And second one, v2 is equal to u1 minus u2 plus v1. This is equation 5. Now I am substituting the value of v1 from equation 4 in equation 1. So what is the equation 1? m1 into u1 minus v1 is equal to m2 into v2 minus u2. I am substituting this v1 value from equation 4. Substitute equation 4 in equation 1. So therefore it is m1 into u1 minus, so what is v1? v2 plus u2 minus u1 is equal to, what is m2? v2 minus m2 u2, means we did the expansion. So it is, suppose m1 u1 minus m1 v2 minus m1 u2 minus m1 u1 is equal to m2 v2 minus m2 u2. So we have substituted the value of v1, we should get the answer of v2. So we are bringing all v2's to one side, all u2's to another side. So what we can write, m1 u1 minus m1 u1. So we can, this is m1 u1 minus of minus plus, so this will be plus. So therefore m1 u1 plus m1 u1, it will be 2 m1 u1 minus m1 v2 minus m1 v2 is equal to m2 v2 minus m2 u2. So I am writing the same equation at the top, 2 m1 u1 minus m1 v2 minus m1 u2 is equal to m2 v2 minus m2 u2. So 2 m1 u1, I am bringing this, this m2 u2 is minus, so this minus m2 u2 is coming to this side, this minus m1 u2 is going to this side. Just we are exchanging the terms. So this will be 2 m1 u1 minus m1 u2 plus m2 u2 is equal to m2 v2 plus m1 v2. So 2 m1 u1, here we can take common u2, m2 minus m1 is equal to v2 into m1 plus m2. So bringing this m1 plus m2 to this side, it will be 2 m1 u1 by m1 plus m2 plus m2 minus m1 by m1 plus m2 of u2 is equal to v2. By changing the symbol, this equation we can get 2 m1 u1 by m1 plus m2 minus of m1 minus m2 by m1 plus m2 of u2 is equal to v2. So this is the equation of v2, where v2 is the final velocity of the second object of mass m2 after the collision.